Today's webinar will be focused on comparing our payroll solution to, well, everybody. So if you're here because you want to see if there's a better way to run payroll, you're in the right place. In a moment, we'll introduce the speakers and review today's agenda. But before we dive in, a few quick housekeeping items. This session will last about 30 minutes. We encourage you to submit questions in the chat. We have team members who will be both answering questions in the chat function and then tagging others to be answered live at the end of this session. So go ahead and jump in the chat and tell us where you're joining us from. If you experience any technical issues, please try refreshing your screen first or even reconnecting to the webinar. And this session is being recorded, so we will share the recording by the end of the day tomorrow. We'll send it via email, the one that you use to register for this session. So let's meet our speakers. First up, I'm Jeff Hughes. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at OnTheClock. My team is responsible for making sure that you have the best customer experience with time tracking and now enrolling in payroll and using OnTheClock Payroll to run your payroll. Next up is Dylan.
Hey everybody, my name is Dylan Munn. I'm with Check. We're actually the back-end engine for OnTheClock Payroll. So we're doing all of the tax calculations, tax filings, as well as the, moving the funds for the direct deposit. I joined because I've been selling payroll for about 7.5 years. And so I've just seen the full gambit of all the different payroll processing setups and moving them over to a new system. And so I'm going to be going over the benefits of moving to OnTheClock Payroll. So I'll pass the ball over to Steve.
Thanks, Dylan. Hi, everyone. My name is Steve McKay. I'm the product manager here at OnTheClock. My team's responsible for the time tracking solution as well as the payroll solution. Handing it over to Gary.
Woo, woo, best for last. So I'm Gary. I'm the head of business development and payroll account executive here at OnTheClock. And what I do is work with every one of our customers to make sure that we are a good fit and we can actually meet their needs and help them out.
All right, so let's get started. The agenda today is first covering common payroll challenges that all small businesses face. Next, we'll specifically talk about how we built OnTheClock Payroll to provide a better solution. Gary's going to do a live demo and show you how easy it is to run payroll right from your OnTheClock account. Plus, we're going to take a look at how your employees' experience will improve. And then last, we'll make sure that we answer all the questions that you have. There's plenty of time at the end of the session to go through Q&A. I ask you to please stick around to the end. We have a lot of great content, but we also have a great offer that we like to share with you in appreciation for you joining us today. Next, I'll turn it over to Dylan.
Awesome. Well, so a lot of questions that our customers ask us at OnTheClock is, why did you build a payroll solution? Or a lot of the same coin is, please build a payroll solution. Because we found there's really 5 common issues a lot of our customers were having with the payroll provider kind of holistically, not to call out any specific provider on this conversation, but this is kind of more of the payroll industry in whole. A lot of them found that there was just very confusing pricing. And so many of you may have just gotten your end of the year W-2 processing. And so you have an idea in your head of I pay X dollars per payroll, and all of a sudden my January or February invoice has this massive year-end cost to it. I did not know that was part of my cost. Amendments, quarterly filings, there's just a lot of ticky-tacky hidden fees that a lot of the legacy payroll company provides that just makes everything very confusing. And so you say, okay, great, I'll move up into more of a higher bundle, but then that then also is more complicated of which bundle do I best fit. I might only want one of those products in this bigger tier bundle, but I have to, 3 times my payroll costs in order to get to it. So it's just very complex from a pricing perspective, but also there's just multiple systems. And so our customers really are enjoying their OnTheClock scheduling and timekeeping, but then they have to export that into an Excel sheet. Then they have to move some of that information either into their, healthcare or their 401k platform, or then upload it into another software system. So it's just a lot of systems that aren't talking to each other that as a small business owner, you're having to manage for them on their behalf just to make sure everything goes well. And then again, if things don't go well, employees are going to do what employees are going to do. Managers are going to do what managers are going to do. sometimes things just come up. And so you want to be able to have your issues resolved quickly and accurately. And unfortunately, the trend that we're seeing in the payroll industry is a decline in the quality of payroll support as opposed to an increase. And that trend has been seen across almost every payroll provider that we see out there. And last but not least is payroll, and just like timekeeping, it's just getting more complicated. Local municipalities, local payroll tax jurisdictions are adding on their changes for every year. As a small business owner, I want to pay a fee. I want to make sure that all my payroll compliance is taken care of, and I don't want to think about payroll and the compliance aspect to it. And so we're going to talk through 3 of the main ways our customers are currently doing their payroll operations. So the main one is kind of doing it yourself. Now that might be with a third-party system, that might be in an Excel sheet. I was talking to an employer 2 weeks ago who they have an Excel sheet that they've had for years. They take the timekeeping information, plug it in, and then they Venmo all of their employees their pay information. No pay stubs, no tracking, no anything. Hopefully no one on this call is at that level, but even then, taking all of that and automating it not only saves you a lot of time, but also keeps you compliant with everything as well. Additionally, a lot of employees, especially in the younger generations, are wanting direct deposit. They probably have grown up with that being the assumed way they get paid and probably have never stepped foot inside of a bank. And so just a lot of the modernization is where we really get a lot of the do-it-yourself customers coming over. I want to automate everything. I want to bring everything online. I don't want to deal with it myself anymore. The second main way we see is they are working with a third party. This is ADP, Paychex, Gusto, APS. There's a lot of ISOL on all their resellers. They all have a lot of essentially 5 core things in common. One is that there are adding on fees for every new service that you want. And even within those services, there's add-on fees as well. A great example is timekeeping. And so with all legacy payroll providers, they have a timekeeping solution. Scheduling is one fee. Timekeeping is another fee. Multiple pay rates is another fee. Job costing is another fee. And it kind of goes with payroll as well. Direct deposits is a fee. Processing is a fee. There's all these different fees that kind of get tacked on. You're like, I don't know what's going on here. I just want to process my payroll. And again, unfortunately, the main thing we're seeing is just a lot of rigidity within their systems. A lot of them were built, late 90s, early 2000s. They have acquired a bunch of other companies. They've bolted those things on. They usually work moving the data in between systems, but sometimes they break, which then gets into your support. And so support has just been, what we've been seeing is just downgrading over time. I don't think anyone has ever told us that their payroll support is actually improving over the years. So it's just an unfortunate trend we're seeing. And lastly is the accountant. And so I do want to make it very clear that we actually work with a lot of accounting firms. Payroll and accounting have always been tied hand in hand. But the reason people are moving off of their accountant doing their payroll really kind of boils down to 2 things. One is my accountant actually might not like doing payroll. It is just a service that they do for their customers because ADP and Paychex and Gusto, they have all burned their bridge with that employer. And they're coming to the accountant and said, I need somebody to do my payroll, and I don't want it to be the legacy people. So your accountant is taking that on. And it also helps them with all the tax documents. For the accountants, if you do use your accountant, we do give, we can send them all the tax information, all the payroll information as well. And so you still get the benefit of your accountant having all your financial data and insights, but you're not, the other part here is that all the employee access is now in the one system. And so one of the challenges we have heard from our employers is that my accountant does my payroll, and then anytime my employees need a pay stub or have questions on their payroll, I'm having to email my accountant then looks into everything. I'm kind of playing middleman between my accountant and the employee, coordinating all this payroll information. And so that's why we kind of brought everything under the one roof to make everyone's life just simpler and easier. And I'll pass the ball over to Steve to go over how exactly OnTheClock Payroll is addressing a lot of those challenges that we've been seeing in the marketplace.
Great. Thank you, Dylan. We appreciate that. One of the things that we wanted to do it on the clock was keep things simple. So that's one of the biggest things our customers say is time tracking with on the clock is easy. It's seamless. I don't have a lot of settings that I have to go in to just be able to track my employees' time, whether they are a time tracking employee or whether a salary employee where we're just monitoring when they're in and when they're out. We wanted to keep all of that simple. So the way that we did that is we fully integrated the simpleness of our time tracking system into payroll, and then we simplified the payroll. So when your employees are going in, they're tracking time. Those times that they punch in and punch out are going directly to that time card and then directly into the payroll solution. On top of that, keeping with the theme of simple, we've done a self-enrollment. So you don't have to contact the sales team. You don't have to reach out to anybody. Of course, if you have questions, we encourage you to reach out. We are glad to answer any questions you might have. But we wanted to keep it so that you could just enroll, whether you're a first-time payroll customer, you've never paid any employees before, or you've been using another solution for years and you need help just migrating that data over. We've built it all into our self-enrollment system. So we're going to ask you a couple of questions about what is your current payroll situation. Based on the answers to those questions, we'll guide you through your next steps, whether it's just getting you set up and going because you've never run payroll before, or you've been running payroll, whether it's writing it on a napkin and giving it to an accountant, or you're using one of the big vendors. We are going to migrate all that data over for you and make it as simple as possible. Again, keeping with the simple thing, nice and easy, is your self-service employee onboarding. So when your employees log in and you're a company that's using OnTheClock payroll, they're going to be prompted to add their personal information. So they're going to add their W-2 information. They're going to sign their W-2s. They're going to add all their personal information like Social Security number, address, etc., bank account, where they want their direct deposits to go. All of that's going to be done on the employee side. If the employer wants to do it, we do have ways to do that, but it's designed to be simple and easy so you don't have to chase down your employees. The system is going to prompt them to say, hey, your employer is enrolled in OnTheClock and is now ready for you to start your onboarding process. Automated tax compliance. Again, keeping it simple. We don't want you to have to deal with any of this. So all of your tax calculations, whether it's federal, state, local, we're going to handle all of that for you, and it'll all be managed right within OnTheClock. Easy time card review, approval, and payroll submission. Again, employees are punching in and out. If their salary, we're catching what their salary is, and we're bringing all that into the time cards. When you're on that time cards page, you are approving your employees' times. You're looking at any additional items like bonus, commission. All of that's going to go over into the payroll. So you verify it all on the time card that you're used to seeing and working with. You press send to payroll, and that's going to go right over into our payroll solution for you and carry over all those values. Of course, once you're in there, you can add additional withholdings or compensations. If maybe you're offering some sort of educational assistance to the employee, you can put all of that right there in the run payroll component. Payroll reporting. So that's a big one, right? There's a lot of questions about like, what do we have to report on? What are you going to provide in terms of reporting? We are giving you detailed breakdowns of wages, taxes, deductions. We're giving you direct access to your payroll summary, your payroll journey. You can grab any of that at any time. It's all available to you right in your OnTheClock account once you're fully onboarded. So just to reiterate, we're just trying to keep things simple. Nice, simple time tracking, nice, simple payroll. We've all heard the term tech stack consolidation. That's what we're trying to do for you, is we want to be a simple payroll solution, time tracking payroll solution for you to run your business. Thank you. Dylan,
Awesome.
back over to you.
Yeah, and just to reiterate Steve's point there, that's really, this is the main takeaway I hope for you to have on this webinar, is comparing and contrasting your current payroll system to OnTheClock payroll. Again, the value of bringing everything in that one system, it cuts down on compliance concerns, it cuts down on time, it cuts down on dollars processed. It provides a better employer experience as well. So it just makes your life a lot easier and simple. But just kind of having some specific call outs here as well. We have been seeing that remote work is really here to stay. You might find an employee that you want to bring on board. They're in a different state. Other legacy systems are going to be charging you to add that other employee in that new state. At OnTheClock, we help. There's no cost to be able to onboard them, and you can process them like any other employee. The second one really is down to that transparent pricing. There's not going to be nickel and diming. You're going to be able to say, I have, 10 employees today. I want to hire 20 employees by the end of the year. I'm going to know what my payroll costs are going to be at that point. There's not going to be a lot of gotcha pricing that I'm going to get surprised about and then not get clarity on what I'm paying for. And the last point here, again, unfortunately, we're just seeing a lot of compression when it comes to the quality of customer support that we're seeing within the payroll industry. One of the main reasons OnTheClock got into the payroll market is because we hold ourselves to a very high bar when it comes to customer support, and we're going to translate that over to your payroll service as well. So I know I've been doing a lot of telling. Now let's do some showing. I'll pass the ball over to Gary to do the demo.
Thanks, Dylan. And you've heard the word simple a lot, but hopefully this is kind of proof is in the pudding. Realistically, we built Payroll to make it so that you could run it in just a few clicks of the mouse. So all you would do is go into OnTheClock as normal and go directly to your time cards. Now, as always, if you need to make adjustments to the time cards or add anything into it, you can. But once your time cards are ready to go for Payroll, you're just going to click on the blue Run Payroll button. It's going to bring you to a payroll summary screen where you can see a breakdown of earnings, withholdings, you can see your taxes, deductions, benefits, everything is broken down. And if you do need to make edits, you can click on Edit Payroll and it'll take you into an area where you can add additional wages for someone, or you can edit their existing wages in case they just got a raise or anything of that nature. And once you have that all set and everything looks good, you just click Submit Payroll and you're done. That's all there is to it. You'll get the success message. You'll see the green banner behind, go from payroll draft to payroll submitted, and there's nothing else to it. Your payroll is all set. Now, from an employee perspective, it is also extremely easy. They would just log into OnTheClock, same as always, as if they were going to punch in or do a time off request and click on the payroll icon up top. Once they do that, all of their pay stubs will be cataloged in here so they can access them at any time. They can view them, print them, download them, send them to themselves, whatever they need to do. Their tax documents will also appear in here at the beginning of the year. Their W-2s will come through. And then if they ever need to make any changes, for example, if they update their bank account or switch banks or they need to adjust their withholdings, they can do that under the pay settings. And that is everything. That's all there is to it. Keep it nice and simple, and I'll be handing it back to Dylan.
Awesome. And again, as you all saw there, I was off camera for maybe a minute, and that's how quick it is to process your payroll. Again, it's always easy to say in a demo how fast the payroll system is. So we did want to include a testimonial here as well. This is from one of our customers, Megan, who, when she moved on to OnTheClock Payroll, not only is she saving $1,200 a year that she can now use to buy new equipment, give herself a bonus, do anything else besides paying her payroll company to process payroll. But she's also getting hours back every year in order to just be able to spend more time focusing on her business as opposed to data entry around payroll. But one of the last pieces that we haven't really touched on today is around just the human error aspect of not having all of your systems in one system. Is that accidents happen, sales get deleted, fat fingering happens. Making sure that everything is automated and transferred over in one system cuts out a lot of the human error aspects that can build in any sort of compliance questions you have as well. So really just making sure that you're able to sleep better at night with more time on your hands and more money in your wallet. In summary, the main four kind of takeaways from this presentation is that OnTheClock really prides ourselves on our customer support model. We are bringing that to our payroll product. If and when, hopefully, the goal is that you're going to have less support issues because there's going to be less systems that go wrong. But if and when things happen, we're going to be able to resolve those tickets quickly and accurately for you. Additionally, what we just saw with Gary, the time to process payroll is going to be much quicker and easier. Your pricing is going to be much more clear and understanding. And then lastly, for you, the admin, for your employees, everything's under one house. No more forgotten passwords. No more asking you to get your pay stubs information, my tax documents. It's just less managerial work for you moving over to OnTheClock Payroll. So I'll hand the ball back over to Jeff.
All right, thanks, Dylan. So before we get to your questions, wanted to thank you for attending today and let you know that we have a special offer to enroll by the end of this month. So quarter end is a great time to switch payroll providers, and we would like to encourage you to complete your enrollment in OnTheClock Payroll by the end of this month. And if you do that and run your first payroll in April, we will do two things. We will waive the enrollment fee, which is the normal cost to port your information over from your previous solution into OnTheClock and get your employees and accounts set up, audited, and ready to run payroll. And then we will also offer free time tracking for 3 months. So April, May, and June time tracking would be free if you get enrolled in payroll by the end of this month. So if you registered for this webinar with a different email than one that is attached to your account, please just shoot an email to Gary@ontheclock.com and we'll make sure that you get that discount applied. So panelists, could you join me back on stage and we'll get into some of the questions. And then I'm going to pop a poll, audience. So if you are, interested in enrolling in payroll or have questions about our offering, chance to take our poll, let us know what you're thinking, and then continue to put questions into chat. All right. So first up, Dylan, I'm going to come to you. I know companies are probably coming from a couple different experiences, doing it themselves, maybe having an accountant, maybe a third-party software. Could you just talk generally about what the implementation looks like once they've enrolled in OnTheClock Payroll?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so again, this is kind of our general presentation. So it's going to really depend. If it is, I've been doing everything in an Excel sheet. We will be working with you and having a call to gather all that data for you. For the most part, though, most employers are using a third-party system, or even their accountant is doing it on QuickBooks for them. We'll get access. We'll have one call where we will get a payroll administrator access to your current system. That takes 5 or 10 minutes. We then do all the document extraction for you. So we're uploading all of your tax information, employees information, payroll history, uploading that into our system. And then the next call is processing your first payroll run. And as you saw with Gary, that's also going to take 5 or 10 minutes. So for the most part, for most of the employers that we've seen, the investment into moving to OnTheClock Payroll from an implementation perspective is 20 or 30 minutes of your time, with that being all the time it takes from giving us the access to processing your first payroll with OnTheClock.
All right, thanks, Dylan. Gary, I'm going to come to you. So there's a question about what the fee includes. I don't know if we've covered that. So could you talk generally about what it costs to have OnTheClock Payroll, and then any of the things that come with that?
Yeah, so OnTheClock Payroll is a monthly fee. It is a $40 base fee and then $6 per employee. And with that, you have unlimited pay runs. It also includes all the reporting, payroll, taxes, everything that we would do at the end of the year, at each quarter as we're sending out the taxes on your behalf. All of that is included with that price. Plus, like I said, there's unlimited pay runs with that. So you're not going to be charged based on your pay period or for every time you run an off-cycle payroll. You can run as many payrolls as you need to. You can do off-cycle bonuses and all sorts of, like, if you ever needed to make adjustments and rerun payroll for whatever reason, you could. And it's not going to adjust the pricing at all. The only time your pricing would adjust would be by adding or removing employees from the system.
Great. Thank you, Gary. Steve, I'm going to come to you. So try to bucket a couple of questions. There's a question about reporting, and then also that some payroll systems include HRIS functionality. Could you talk to us about what you can get out of OnTheClock Payroll and what we might still be building?
Yeah, absolutely. So, keeping with the theme of simple, we want to become your simple HRIS system. So, as we talk about the different types of like the technology stack consolidation, a lot of users have, like, if you think about it as your streaming service, like you have the YouTubes, you have the Netflix, etc. You want to consolidate all that into one. We want to do the same thing for you, but we want to keep it simple. So we put a lot of thought into how do we roadmap our items that are next for development. So how do we support the immediate needs of our customers today? And then how do we support the immediate needs of our future customers? All leaning towards HRIS type systems. So today we have our time tracking. We have our payroll solution now. We are launching a user centered profile later this year, which will shift employees over to users, and you can assign multiple roles. Once we have that launched, we're going to start focusing on things like supporting contractors, supporting additional features that like employee onboarding, employee offboarding, and additional scheduling features, whether that's giving the employees the ability to select their available times that they can be scheduled, all the way through feeding those PTO schedules into the basic scheduler that we have today. So the goal here is just to give you everything you need to be successful and run your business and keep it simple without a ton of settings and a ton of complexity into it.
Thanks, Steve. I'm going to call attention. We're getting close to the bottom of the hour. There is a link in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen where you can schedule time with one of our payroll experts to go through questions you might have specific to your situation. I would encourage you to book some time with our team. We're happy to answer your questions. I don't think we're going to get to all of them. We will do our best. Dylan, I'm going to come to you. There's a couple questions about like how are taxes handled, and then some questions about other things that happen in payroll. Could you address those, please?
Yeah, so I've seen a handful of these kind of questions. So around everything essentially after gross pay. So I'm just going to kind of talk high level about this. So we are able to accommodate all of the pre-tax and post-tax deductions. So pre-tax, that could be a cafeteria 125 plan. That could be a 401k plan as well. Post-tax, for garnishments, for example, we treat garnishments very much like our payroll. So 90% of all garnishments or child support garnishments, we do the calculations and the filings and the money movement for all of those. For non-child support garnishments, we will do the calculations, but we do not do the money movement or filing for them. When it comes to, it looks like there's a lot of questions around like medical. So I'm going to kind of talk on kind of the core ones. Medical, we can do all of the deduction amounts and all the reporting for the medical deductions will be in your payroll reporting. For 401k, we can do both pre-tax 401ks. We can also do IRAs, more post-tax retirement as well. For workers' comp, we do provide the payroll data. We are not collecting class codes when it comes to workers' comp. So we help work with your broker to ensure that they're getting all the payroll data that they need in order to make sure that your workers' comp information is set up correctly. So I think that was the most of the output. We do direct deposit. You can also print your checks at your office as well. So you can do paper checks. We have pay cards as well. Unemployment premiums. So we do all the so we don't do the workers' comp. For unemployment, we do the tax calculation, collection, processing, and filing for that as well. So we also collect your current unemployment state rate, and then that's entered. We do that during implementation, and then when you do get your new SUI rate, every state's different. When they actually issue those, just send those over to support, and we'll upload that for you. I think that's kind of the majority of the post gross pay calculations. So if there's any more that anyone wants me to call out, let me know.
All right, great, Dylan. I appreciate that. I think there's a couple of questions about like the level of support. Your accountant could call into support as long as they're authorized to access your system. We're not currently available on the weekends. Arturo, I'd love to know the use case that you're looking to solve for there. And then I'm going to close it out with Steve. I think there was a question about how far back when we migrate payroll, the information is ported over, but just and generally with the enrollment process and what people could expect.
It's generally 1 quarter. It depends on where they are in the year. So if it's a brand new year, we don't have to go back the full quarter.
All right, fantastic. Well, team, as I mentioned, thank you for your questions. I know we didn't get to all of them. We will send out a recording from this webinar. We will look to address questions that weren't answered in the follow-up email. And again, please book time with one of our payroll experts to go into your specific situation. We'll be happy to help you. We appreciate your time today, and we do look forward to being your payroll solution in 2025. So thank you for your time and attendance. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.